Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you've seen my last video, you would have saw me diagnose a clunking on my Caddy van. It suddenly appeared and it was so loud, I thought I cannot leave it. We have to find out what it was. Obviously, it's a snap spring. So today we're going to be changing the spring and the top mount on this Volkswagen Caddy. Now, if you like Mitsubishis, this is mainly a Mitsubishi channel, so check out the videos on my Evo. I've got a lot of videos out there, which I'm sure most of you will find interesting, but it's about the Caddy today. So where you join me from this point here, I've already removed the wheel and I've lifted the van up onto an axle stand. Now I jacked it up from the jacking point. I couldn't find where to put an axle stand, but I can see the lip here is actually started to cave in. So it looks like someone's jacked it up slightly off the jacking point at some point in its life. So I didn't feel comfortable putting the axle stand there. So I've put it under here on the subframe. So yeah, that's how I basically secured the van. Now the idea for the day is basically to remove this shock absorber. Then we got to take the spring off, replace the spring and the top mount, and then put it all back together. So one of my subscribers commented on my last video that it's not as simple as it usually is. So we can see the top mount under here. So I'm imagining most of this stuff is going to have to come out for us to access the top mount. So not quite as straightforward as it usually is. On most vehicles, you can just undo the 3 bolts and take the shock out pretty much, but a bit more work this time. But it's nothing that we can't handle. So I'm going to make a start. Let's get it out. I don't want to speak too soon, but that wasn't so difficult. But yeah, maybe getting to them is going to be quite hard. So yeah, we've got to basically undo a couple of bolts here, and then hopefully that panel will then be able to be pulled out. That just to get to these 3 bolts. Now, I'm not the type of person that's willing to just stick their hand down a gap and struggle for half an hour. I'd rather just take everything out until I've got access. So I'm pretty sure in the Volkswagen factory they wouldn't be sticking their hand through a wiper mechanism to get to those bolts. So that's the way I sort of reason on things. I think it's easier and it's more straightforward just to take things out so you can get access. And usually it's actually quicker and easier than just trying to be lazy and working around it. But we've got access. As you can see, the bolt's looking very, very crusty. So I'm not sure what the situation is going to be when we get there. But before I go actually undoing those bolts, I'm going to have to separate the shock absorber from the hub. So it's actually a pinch design. I hate these designs, they're really awkward. You got to smack them and whack them to get them to do anything that you want them to do. But hopefully we can get it out without too much problems. So let's make a start. So just a little update then. It's been a bit of a nightmare. We managed to get the drop link off without damaging it, which usually isn't possible. But it turns out that it's actually knocking anyway. So watch now. Bit of play, and the boot's perished as well. Cannot separate this shock from the hub. I managed to get it quite far out by just basically whacking the hub with a hammer. And then I had an amazing idea to stick a crowbar down the gap to make the gap a bit bigger. And it went and slotted straight back up again. So back to where it started. So I'm trying to find a way of pressing it out basically. I can't do it with the axle there. So I'm going to try and get a claw puller on and push the shock through that way. But I obviously can't do it with the shaft there. So I'm going to have to move the shaft. Then I can get the claw puller on, hopefully press out the shock. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to take the hub off the van, which is not something I really wanted to do. I've been at it quite a while already. It's quite time consuming, this job. So yeah, that's the update really. So just going to tap the axle out now like this, and then hopefully I can get a claw puller underneath and get the shock out. So finally it's out. Now basically I'm supposed to just undo the pinch bolt and tap the hub down and then get it out, but I found that the anti-roll bar was binding, so I had to jack it the other side. Then I had to take the brake caliper off so we could smack the hub basically. Had to take the axle out, which we couldn't get out. It's just a fiddly job, but it's pretty simple really. Just undo as much as you can, keep the shock bolted in, and then when you're tapping that, it's going to tap the hub down and you're going to anchor the shock then to the chassis. So you can sort of pull it out slowly like that. So we just got to undo the bolts at the top now, and then we can fit the new spring and top mount. So this is how not to remove a spring. Okay, so with a bit of persuasion, I did manage to get the top mount bolt off. It was really difficult with the thing obviously trying to turn as well. The shock strut thing I was trying to turn, so I put a rag around it, grabbed it with some more grips, and repeatedly heated up the nut and put an impact gun on it to heat it up, and eventually we got the nut off. So I haven't got any spring compressors. I've never needed them before, and it's never occurred to me to buy some until now, and it's too late. I haven't got any. So just around the corner is my friend Sparkplug Steve. He has got a YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description. He's going to be helping me out today. Well, he's going to be lending me his spring compressors basically. So we're now at Steve's. Once the top mount's on, then I'm going to fit the shock absorber to the van. But it's getting late. It's something like 6 o'clock now. So believe it or not, I've been on that all day. I fit all 4 coilovers on the Evo in about 2 hours. And well, I'm just trying to change one spring and it's taken me a day. So it's been a bit of a pain, this Caddy. It's not so much the van, it's just an awkward job, and I don't know, it's just a difficult job really, I suppose. Well, not difficult, just time consuming. So anyway, we're at Steve's. I'm rambling now. Let's go inside. Okay, so here we are at Steve's, and this is the spring compressor. So once we turn that, it's gonna tighten the spring, it's going to compress it. There'll be one on the other side as well. There's another one just by my shoe, and what that's going to do is it's going to shorten the height of the spring. So when we put the spring on over here, instead of it being longer, it'll be shorter, and we can get the nut on then. So that's pretty much the idea of using a spring compressor. Heading back to the car now. Got the top mount on. Pretty simple really, same as any other shock. Okay, so time to fit the new drop link. The other one's absolutely a goner. So just got to figure out which way it goes in. So I think it's pretty much done. Can't believe it's actually gone into the second day, just changing the spring and the top mount on a van, but just been taking my time really. And these are quite difficult to work on. Either that or I'm an incompetent mechanic. I'm probably an incompetent mechanic. But yeah, it's taken quite a long time, but glad to be at the end. Nothing's broken. So just take my time really, and eventually we get to the end of the job. So pretty much at the end now. All I have to do is stick the wheel on, then I'm going to just roll it out, stick it around the block, and then I'll come back. All being well, we'll fit then the firewall, the scuttle panel and the wipers. So let's fit the wheel and see if it's fixed it. I can tell a big difference. The wheels are not fighting me so much when I want to turn. It shows the top mount's working. I think when it was rubbing on the bodywork, it was making it much harder to turn the wheel. And this road's quite bumpy. It used to knock, so that drop link's obviously fixed the knocking as well. There's no more knocking. It's driving sweet. So I'll go back now and we'll fit the wipers. Good news. It's fixed. It's driving smoother than it ever has. So I think the main thing that has always been knocking since the day I bought it was that drop link. And I meant to sort of fix it, but I knew it was nothing serious. So we fixed the drop link, so that knocking is now gone. Also, we got the new top mount and the new spring, and it's driving really, really nice now. No knocks, no funny noises. It's fixed. So all we have to do is I got a big pile of stuff on the floor, got to stick it back in, the firewall, scuttle panel, things like that. So let's crack on, we'll fit them, and then finally 2 days just to change the spring and a top mount. But yeah, finally we can call it complete. So let's crack on. So installation was the repeat of the removal, just a few bolts really, nothing too complicated, and it's back in. Just done a bit of window washer fluid on the screen just to make sure they're working and they're lining up correctly, and they are. So job's a good one, and I can now use my van again. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you found it interesting or maybe helpful if you're planning on doing similar work to your Caddy. Now usually I always say just budget for replacing the drop links. Usually they're seized, you can't get them off. In this case, they weren't actually seized. They come straight off, no problem at all. But they'd actually worn out anyway. So the one time I managed to get the drop links off, or the drop link rather, it was actually worn out anyway. So I replaced that. That was only £10. The top mount was £20, and the spring was £20. So 50 quid fix, and the van's actually better than before it broke because it's not knocking anymore. Thanks again, and I'll see you in another video. Cheers, guys.